Welcome, everybody, and again, thanks for joining us. Continuing to be here, Brent Rollins, David Pollack, inching closer and closer. We're about a little over 3 weeks, Brent, from some football, and now I think it's going to be a cool time of the year because, well, first of all, we're going to talk to Trent Dilfer, who's always fantastic. We've both been a fan of him for years with the analogies, and you'll get him, I promise. He always delivers in the way he does things. He's an awesome dude, has been for a long time, and really good in so many different realms, which we'll talk to him about. But like, Brent, this is the time of year, man, where we're starting to talk about like teams, and injuries are going to start to be a part of people's seasons. And Florida, that's a pretty big one. Florida, the Florida Gators are looking to really come on the scene. Last year, a lot of turmoil, wondering about where they would be, where they would end up. End the season really, really hot, everything going in the right direction. But DJ Lagway missed all of spring, and now having more issues at the quarterback spot for Florida and in camp this time now. So
calf in a boot, missed some time. Like, it's one of those things where he'd probably play if they had a game, but it's just he's missing reps. And as a young quarterback, he needs the reps, and that's what's going to hurt them. I think it's not going to hurt them as long as he's there game one. It's not. That's what matters in the end. But
I do think you're right, though. I do think it hurts you because he missed all spring. Like, yeah. I think, listen, the coaches plan surgeries around spring football. Literally, they'll let them go through spring healthy and then have surgery and rehab and then get ready for fall camp because the reps are that important to them, like mentally and going through it and just like timing with the quarterback and receivers. There's nothing bigger than that. Like, they have to be on the same page. They have to understand how this kid breaks, how he breaks out of his break so I can throw the football correctly. So I just say, Brett, like, the clock is ticking and yeah. You're going to play games where it's going to really, really matter.
It's one of those where you're definitely watching it. I mean, by the way, they were 6-0 in games that he started and finished. So his presence is a big, big deal for them. But to me, I've heard many a coach and even said it before, the greatest ability, availability.
And you start to worry about that now with Lagway, with being hurt last year with the hamstring, all of camp with the shoulder, now a calf. Like, I mean, that starts to add up and become, issue after issue. And that's just, it can nag those players, and it can really be sometimes the reason why people aren't successful.
Yeah. You don't want to turn into a candle.
Yeah.
One blow and you're out.
Yeah, you don't want that.
That was. I gives credit to my dad on that one. That was what he played.
Well, you don't need to give credit because nobody thought it was good. You didn't have to give credit. Yeah. You just give. You can tell him dad joke.
Sorry, Dad. Just had to ruin that one for you there. Speaking of Dad, who's a coach and his son no longer plays for him, but he's going to be coaching, and that's Coach Prime. So he did the thing on Monday, had the press conference with the doctors, by the way. Had cancer, bladder was removed, but he was very energetic, hey, I'm here, I'm going to be here. And that to me, because when they said the medical team was going to be at the press conference, I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. But it being a good thing, him being around college football, to me is a very, very good thing.
And here's another thing, too. I continue to be a Deion fan. It's hard not to cheer for him with his outlook on life, man. Like, he's just, if you listen to Deion, he's positive. He's hard on his players, like we've talked about before. He's faith-filled, which I love that he leads with his faith, and he's trying to help these young kids grow. Deion's got every reason in the world, by the way, not to coach. He's got gazillions of dollars in the bank. He's got his toes amputated a year ago and had all kinds of health issues. Now, like, leading to cancer, and he's continuing to do it. I think it says a lot about Deion Sanders and who he is and who he wants to be. Like, I know people get turned off by the shade and the gold chains and stuff like that, but like, listen to what he says and look at what he's trying to do for young people, man. I'm all in with when you are that kind of person. So, like, I'm proud of what he's doing. I'm proud of the way he represents himself, and just keep doing it, man, because the young kids need these kinds of role models.
And I like him being in college football is a great, great thing.
Great thing.
Versus like if I was the head coach of Colorado, I'd be boring and I'd be Belichickian and coach speak and all that sort of stuff. Like, kind of people probably say on the comments of YouTube about me and on this stuff. But him and his energy and his passion for the game, it's a different element, and it's a great thing for college football for him to be in.
Great thing. Bringing people to hey, Boulder, Colorado has not been very sexy for a while. Okay. And the amount of prime that he's brought to that, the amount of shine he's brought there, like, I have so many people that are Colorado fans that I know that actually I have two, not so many, just two, two fans that they're literally like, listen, we're being talked about. Like, we don't care. Like, we don't care if we win a natty. We are so jacked to be in the conversation on any segment, period. So, he's definitely brought a lot of attention, and they won last year, man. They won some games, and they got a Heisman. Like, they got a Heisman in Colorado. Like, that's pretty dang special.
Yep. All right, before we get to Coach Dilfer, we're going to hit a couple of tweets and kind of look back and some things that have been discussed and looked at. So one was from you. It said, what's a moment in college football history you wish you could see for the first time again? And I thought one of the first response that I see, because I follow him and mutual friend, that is a great response. And that's Nicky J, Coach Nick Johnson. Shout out, North Gwinnett. Bulldogs. Clowney versus Michigan was the thing that he put as the moment in college football history that he would see for the first time again.
When he decapitated and fixed the fourth down situation that went awry. But
great
Brett,
response.
I think there was over 1 million people that like made impressions or views or whatever the crap that stuff's called. I don't really know how all that works on X, but it just shows you, man, the passion that runs for football. And there's so many moments where I can't tell you how many people I've met all over the country and in the Southeast. I remember where I was when you made that play against South Carolina. Like, I remember exactly where I was, and I'm like, it was the luckiest crap ever. And if you're younger than us, like, trust me, you'd have to YouTube it because it's before HD, it's before instant replay. Like, you're missing out like on the play. But those are the moments, man, that the fans remember of their squad that are just so big time. And it takes them back to that and being in the stadium for a lot of people and cheering and losing their minds. And sometimes it's not good. Like, there's some flashbacks that aren't very good, especially I can speak as a Georgia fan, right? Like, we can go back to 2016. I remember my son crying from the hospital or the dome coming home.
Oh.
Like,
second and 26.
Like, I remember vividly him crying. I remember Luke Bryan. He sent me a video of Bo, his son, who was like 9 at the time, and he was just sobbing uncontrollably. So we have those moments too. We have those moments where if you're an Ohio State fan a couple years ago, missing the kick, wide right, like, you have those moments too and maybe that's the next one is what's that moment you had your heart ripped out of your chest for your squad? That would be another one.
So a couple of responses, and I'll give you some teams and see where you think they went. So one, Tim Warren, shout out. He just said one word, Vic. I thought that was a really good response.
Yeah.
A lot of people just randomly put West Virginia versus Baylor, the 2020
12
game.
70 burger.
63. Yeah, that sort of back and forth, all of that.
Yep.
If Boise fans were in the mentions.
Oh, hook and lateral. Ian Johnson proposing.
The Oklahoma game.
Yep.
Tennessee fans.
Well, it's got to be T. Martin, right?
More recent.
Beating Alabama?
Beating Bama and rushing the field. That was one for Tennessee
Smoking
fans.
cigars.
A lot of Auburn fans said
kick six.
Gotta be. Clemson fans.
Hey, I was on the sideline of the kick six. Me and my wife were on the sidelines watching that game, and it was unbelievable. That was number one. Russell Wilson's Hail Mary at Wisconsin to beat Michigan. I think it was Michigan State that day, which was crazy. I think that was, or was it Kirk Cousins? No, Kirk Cousins threw it. It was Kirk Cousins versus Russell Wilson. I was there at that one too, but the kick six, obviously, Vern Lundquist, one of the greatest calls of all time.
Clemson fans.
Hunter Renfrow?
Yeah, Deshaun to Renfrow.
Yep.
Georgia fans. Positive light.
Stetson Bennett.
Ringo. They went to the Ringo interception.
You could go Stetson Bennett too. To Mitchell. Twice.
Yep. So another one, interesting, former South Carolina quarter and Jackson State quarterback, Jason Brown, I saw actually sort of engaged with that. And he posted a video of him, like it was him, and he's just kind of looking at the stands at South Carolina right before he goes out on the field. I thought was really cool as well. So a lot
Those
of
moments are
responses.
fun, by the way. Like those moments are fun, like coming out with all that stuff. I remember I sent a video to Lou Holtz when I started at ESPN. Because Lou would always talk so much, because Lou was the coach of South Carolina when I did that pick six. I sent a video to him when I was in the end zone and I was walking around. I was like, Lou, it's like I can't get to the exact spot. Like, Lou, do you know where I'm at? Like, right. Lou, where did y'all win the game against? Oh, no, here it is, Lou. This is where it happened. And he sent some good things back in response.
Yes, some very nice things, I'm sure. You petty, you are petty. That is true.
Yeah.
And then one more, and this is one that actually I kind of thought about given our conversation about Notre Dame the other day. And it's, do you think we'll ever see an undefeated national champion in college football again? Because we, 2 of the last 4 and 5 of the last 10 have run the gamut of undefeated. But now you've got, the additions to the conferences. You've got, more games, more playoff games.
I'm about to say
go with that.
That's the biggest thing to me. Like this is an easy thing because of the number of games. Like there's a reason the 72 Dolphins are the only one to ever run the table in the NFL, because there's so many freaking games that you got to win, right? Like, and the Patriots came really, really close if it wasn't for Eli Manning and company. But I think it's obviously hard. They're going to expand the playoffs again, so it's going to get even harder. So I'm not going to say never, because there's going to be these teams, but I would say they're going to be very few and far between. Like they're going to be once every 20 years, once every 15 years, once every 10. It ain't going to be like it was, back in the 2000s where you had it almost every other year. At least somebody was going undefeated, or 2 undefeated teams were facing each other in the championship game, So, those days are done.
And the other part with it is no more super seniors, the no more, the COVID super seniors that you had. I think that kind of changed a lot of that. But yeah, that was one where I was like, I think it will, but the degree of difficulty is there. And speaking of degree of difficulty, our guest has some degree of difficulty in getting his program around. So turned around. So I'll let you introduce and talk all about the guest that's coming up here.
This is one of the most interesting introductions ever, because the guy we're introducing you to right now, 14-year NFL vet, Super Bowl champ, analyst, high school football state champion, college football coach. Like that resume, it seems like you should be done and retired, Trent, and like just off in the distance. I mean, my goodness, you've lived a lot of lives and done a lot. I mean, all that stuff, man. Just think about your career and what you've done, and how do you put that into words a little bit?
Well, hi, David. Nice to see you. I get this a lot, and I think the easiest way to say it is God has richly blessed me with a very full football life. And I use the word full. I don't say great. I don't say successful. Just full. It's been full of heartache. It's been full of adversity. It's been full of victory. It's been full of journey. It's been full of learning. It's been full of faith. It's been full of a lot of stuff, and it's scanned over different types of football life. And sometimes I'll watch those NFL films, Football Lives, and I don't deserve to have one, but I always think through like, wow, my football life has been really interesting. And I just think it's getting started. That's the other thing. I have more energy at 53, more passion, probably than I've ever had. And I've used a lot of my football lessons learned to make me better at what I'm doing now. And obviously I need to get a lot better at being a college football head coach, but it's just made me a better human. My wife said it perfectly when we were sitting down, deciding whether to go to college football or not. I had a few opportunities, and I really liked the high school thing. We built something really special, and I wanted to stay. And she goes, Trent, she goes, you need to go because you're a better husband, you're a better father, you're a better friend when football's hard. When you have a mountain to climb, when the journey is rough. And she goes, it's going to be rough, so you'll be better. And she was right. I'm a better, I don't want to say human. I don't like judging humans on a scale of 1 to 10, but I'm a better version of me when I have a tough, hard football journey in front of me.
Well, that seems, just knowing you for all these years and the amount of energy and competitiveness, to think that this is you're reaching the pinnacle, that's kind of scary, because you're a competitive human being. But talk about just taking over UAB, and I think obviously, the timing in which you did it. Like, obviously this is probably one of the more difficult times to take over a program that's not in the Power Four, that it changes more than anyone, because people come knocking, right? Like, and they're like, hey, you did a really good job, Trent. Thank you for developing this guy. Like, we're going to use him to his full capacity now.
Yeah. So I never use that as an excuse. It's a reason, it's a real thing. But, and I go back to the comment my wife made. We've been married 32 years. She knows me pretty well. And anytime I start feeling sorry for myself, or these circumstances of developing players or losing them, or not having the resources of your competitors, or, whatever it is, she goes, stop whining. She goes, you asked for this, you asked for the hard, you asked for the
what
challenge.
A woman.
Yeah, she's the best. And she just reminds me that, like, this is what I signed up for, because when I took the job, this was a very successful program in Conference USA. Bill Clark, I think, is one of the great coaches in college football over the last 15, 20 years, built something from the dust, very special program, but the level of competition was a lot less, and the resourcing needed was a lot less, and being able to recruit Alabama, Georgia players when they're young, raw, see something in them, develop them over time, maximize the JCs when the best JC players were still going to this level instead of the Power Fours. Like that, I walked into that transition from that not happening anymore. So you go to the American Conference, which is an awesome conference. I mean, we saw it last year with Tulane and USF and Memphis and Army and Navy being in the mix at the end, and what they did in bowl games. Look at the bowl records of the American teams. You roll into that conference and all the challenges that are to go into a new conference. I mean, for those who don't know, you don't get the full revenue share of the conference. You don't get a lot of the perks that the existing member institutions have. The portal all of a sudden becomes much more dynamic the first year. So you're trying to figure that out on the fly. You're trying to decide, okay, with this moving goalpost, are we high school football recruiting centric? Are we portal, or what is it? And so we kind of did a both and, but really focused on getting really good young high school prospects that we think are diamonds in the rough, and developing them. And you do, and you lose more than 10 to the Power Fours. The kids you recruit, you develop, are really good players, really good kids, and you can't pay them a fraction of what they're going to get paid. So you're almost like, hey, can I drive you to this school? Like, this is good for you. So a lot of challenges, but at the same time, it's what I asked for. So now, I didn't ask for the horrific losing record and all the things that have gone bad, but I've asked for the challenge of fixing it. And I'm so excited about that. Having a third year is an opportunity to turn this thing around and get it to the standard that it needs to be to compete in the American Conference.
So, Coach, given that, what would you say is the hardest component, recruiting or retention?
Yes. And you could ask me like 9 other questions in that question. The answer is yes. It's all hard. There's, I think any coach that says they figured it out is probably coach speaking you. I think we all have our iteration of how we're trying to figure it out and trying to figure out what's best for our program, because I don't think there's a cookie cutter way of doing it. I'm very relational based with my players. I was as a player, I was as a high school coach, and I am as a college coach, and I won't change. I think, we're all going to be on our deathbeds one day, and we're not going to remember our win-loss record, but going to remember the impact we had on people and the relationships that we had on the journey. And I really care about those relationships. And, Cameron Shanks is a great example. He's a kid from Prattville. We recruited. We got him to flip from Liberty, keep him home in Alabama. He becomes an All-American kick returner, super productive. I think 58 catches, bunch of touchdowns, redshirt freshman, dynamic player. And then he gets offered a ton of money from an SEC school, and I'm happy for him. I mean, I remember that conversation, and it was tears of joy for him, but tears of the relation. Like, this kid's kind of become like a son to me. We've had a lot of conversations, a lot of time together. There's been a lot on both sides, an investment here, and now he's going away. So it's not just you lose a great player, you hurt your chance of winning more games, but you're losing a relationship. And that part's really, really difficult because we're recruiting players that we want to have strong connections with. In fact, this year we primarily focused on the character of the player and what type of relationship we want to have with that player as we help him try to chase his best and reach the fullness of his potential. So that part's been very difficult. You can celebrate the good thing for them, but it definitely rips out a little piece of your heart each time you lose one of those.
That's why you're looking for fire breathers only.
You got it.
Got to find them. Okay, so listening to you all those years, being around you, breaking down quarterbacks, like I don't know that there's anybody that's better at doing it. So, like, how are you breaking down quarterback play now across the country? Because the game continues to change, and what we're asking quarterbacks to do obviously is become different. So how would you break down quarterback play across the country?
Well, I'll say this. When I was doing that, so let's go back to 2008, my last year in the NFL, first going into ESPN, Elite 11 camps, trying to change the landscape of camps throughout the country. Like, my life was very different, and I was fully entrenched in quarterback life. Like, I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it. I spent my days watching tape on it, talking to the best in the business. Like, that's all I did. And my goal was to learn more, not be the smartest, not be a guru, not be the best, but to learn more about the position than anybody's ever learned about it and be able to communicate it in such a way that everybody could understand it. So that was really the goal. And I felt like I put as much time as any human that's ever lived into studying. That's all I did. And I tried to run the Elite 11 in such a way that really had some lasting impact with both players and coaches, and then talk about it in my role as a broadcaster in a way that, like, the house moms could understand it. The 14-year-old kid could better understand it. The grandpa sitting on the couch could better understand it. And I felt like we did a pretty good job of kind of reshaping the language around quarterback play. Like, if you look at it right now, a lot of the terms that were introduced in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14 are now common nomenclature around explaining the quarterback position. And I feel a really sense of satisfaction with that, because I think we've simplified it and we made it more correct. Like, we made explaining what happens and the dimensions of quarterback play easily digestible and correct. Because I think forever broadcasters were just flat wrong. Like, it drove me nuts how they would explain quarterback play, and they were 180 degrees wrong. And I felt like we had an impact on changing that. I say that because I don't do that anymore. Now I'm looking at defensive tackles. Is this guy a 2 or is he a 3 technique? Does this guy have versatility as a big high school defensive end to drop down? What's our will linebacker look like? What's the market for portal free agent field safeties? And, are we a length generated corners team or are we more twitch and speed? What does a slot look like in modern day college football? I'm looking at the game again, like I did as a quarterback, like as a high school football coach, more, 360 degrees. So I've lost my edge a little bit, to be quite honest with you. I've been back with some of my quarterback guru buddies, and I'll give Jordan Palmer's a great example. Quincy Avery's a great example. They took what we kind of started, and they've gone light years past whatever I do now. In fact, I know a lot about the biomechanics and, mechanics and footwork and how to play the position, but even my quarterback, who I think is really special, I encourage to go spend time with Jordan out in California to kind of get caught up with some of the modern teachings of the positions and of the position and a way he can get better. So you asked me that question, and I no longer would put myself in the quarterback expert category. I'd put myself in, I'm looking to find the best quarterbacks for UAB football. And that's really all I think about. And now I watch college football and I admire a lot of the things I see in other players. And I can find flaws in their game because I'm watching them as an opponent scout. But it's a very different perspective on the quarterback position than I had leading up to this.
Coach, I can't tell you how many times I'd sent a text to Davey, hey, you've got to listen to what Coach Dilfer, what Trent Dilfer said on Russillo. This is the best way to explain it. Great analogy, all that sort of stuff. Send it to him all the time. But you mentioned your quarterback. So I've been watching him a little bit recently. And the last name, especially with the number that he wears and how he throws, it feels like his last name should be Rivers, not Kitna.
Yeah.
Is one thing. And then also just kind of watching him, and this is my takeaway. He looked like a kid who instincts, talent, all these things that you want are there, but he just hadn't played in a while. And the feel and the what's around you, the mental clock, all that stuff, it just wasn't there yet. So is that true? And then how has that gotten better over this spring?
You nailed it. That's exactly who he was last year. You know, we knew we had a special talent the day we rolled up on campus. And then, you know, talking to the people at the University of Florida, they saw it towards the end of his time there too. You know, he was going to take over for Richardson before the unfortunate circumstances came up. And when we got him on campus, and I've known his dad a long time, I've known the family a long time. I knew I was getting a talented kid. I'd forgotten just how talented he was. And it was like drop your jaw, holy smokes talent. Then he had a setback. He had a pretty severe injury while he was backing up Jacob Zeno that kind of set him back. And it set him back on a lot of those reps that you're talking about, a lot of valuable time where he could be getting live team reps to develop some of those instincts, the feel, you know, just the nuance of the position. And then I sat there and I realized really quickly that, you know, this kid has to play some football. It's year 2. We had kind of plateaued as an offense. You know, we were 18 in the country year 1 with a bunch of, you know, really only having a handful of really talented players. We kind of did it with smoke and mirrors. Teams had started to figure us out a little bit. We had plateaued offensively. And I'm like, you know, the way you pour gasoline on this offense is when the quarterback – the fullness of the quarterback comes out. We got to get this kid playing. And we knew we were going to go through some roller coaster experience to a certain degree. And to his credit, you know, he did have some really good games. Like you put on that Tulsa film, you think he's a first or second round pick. Some plays he made in some of these games. You see the greatness come out, but then you see holding the ball too long, poor ball security, some bad decisions. Like you said, a lack of instincts. But I'm glad we did it for 8 weeks because he never flinched. He never changed. He grew as a leader. He grew as a player. He grew as a worker. And then he just absolutely attacked the offseason. He's gotten so much better. We were very, very specific on the things we wanted him to clean up. I really believe that 8 games of experience is going to reveal itself as like 18 to 25 games of experience. You know, what we really tried to create here, both for him and the team, were 3 seasons within the offseason. You know, we wanted to create as many high pressure, crazy, chaotic, game-like situations in the periods of the offseason so that they could feel what it's like. You can't recreate a game, but you can recreate the stress and the anxiety and the pressure and the difficulty of a game so that the game becomes easier. And we feel like we've done that. We're in season 3 right now, which is training camp. And we really think he's going to come out of this training camp playing like a wily vet. And then again, I'll use this word again. I think the fullness of who he is as a talent will really come out this year.
Wow. And he's talking about John Kitna's son who played in the NFL for a long time. I was with him at the Bengals, a tremendous family. I know that. I mean, just being around them for a while, like just I know he comes from good stock and good parents. That's for dang sure. So teaching him, tutoring him. I saw something too, man, where you've kind of changed the schedule, the practice schedule, and what you're trying to get from your guys. Like these kids, they're different, man. Like they're way different than when we grew up, and they've been coached different at a younger level. What do you have to do differently now as a coach with these kids and the way you're going to approach it?
Well, I think every team's different. You know, I've had a lot of great coach mentors, and I get a lot of good information from a lot of these guys that are going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame as coaches. And one of common message you hear from them is there's no cookie cutter way of coaching a team. It's that team each year is kind of specific to the needs of that team. And we felt, and really leaning on my three coordinators, John Jones, special teams, Steve Russ, defense, and Alex Mortensen, offense. I really want it to be a collaboration of ideas. I think one common denominator of great coaching is they know who to listen to and they lean on those people. I really leaned on that group along with my assistant head coach, Lyle Henley, my strength and conditioning coach. And we really went to work at okay, what's right for this team? And we really believe that this is a group that does need a lot of revelation of who we are as a football team with pads on. But that doesn't have to be by breaking them down. You know what I mean? We can create an NFL practice environment that's very fast, that's very efficient, that's very productive, that reveals a lot of the things you need to reveal in your football team, and then get them off the football field and teach them how to engage better in the classroom, teach them how to engage better in walkthroughs, have systems within our building that help them become better football players without the countless hours of toll on their body. So it was a very hard off season. Like I'm sure a lot of coaches will tell you, my idea for training camp was to make it exceptionally hard, but hard didn't have to be in the physical all the time. Hard could be in the mental, the emotional, the team building. And that's really how this schedule was crafted.
What's the best thing you've done team building? What's the best over all the years, or done or seen? What's the best thing you've ever seen that promoted this and growing closer together?
The best thing I've ever done was at Lipscomb. It's been very hard to recreate here. We've done it in a different format, but we called it kitchen table conversations. And I stole it from George Whitfield. He talked about, as a family, they would sit down at the kitchen table, and his grandfather and his dad would really share some very difficult life experiences growing up. And I started wrapping my brain around we as parents always want more kitchen table conversations. I think we're better as a community when we sit down and break bread together and really get real and transparent with each other. So at Lipscomb, what we did, we had these round tables in our team room that we also ate at. And every team meeting and every team meal that we had, you had to fill a table before you started a table. So you might get, Johnny, 14-year-old Johnny, who, is just starting to play football at a table. And here comes my 5-star SEC linebacker rolling in. Well, he's going to be sitting next to little Johnny. And then, you don't know who's going to come in the door first. And all of a sudden you got these very organic tables of 8 to 10 kids. And then we'd do life together. And then what they
otherwise they sit with the same people every time and have the same conversations.
Yep. And there was no phones. And then, I would, we're talking about high school here, and I'd come in the room and be like, hey guys, let's talk about porn. And they'd go. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk about porn. And I was destroying your minds. And you're going to talk. And I'd call on Johnny, and Johnny heart speed. But then 5-star Tennessee linebackers, a great human guy. I got you, brother. And he would stand up and talk before him. And we just saw these incredible bonds being formed by kids that never would have known each other if we didn't force them into these very uncomfortable, intimate moments, really growing as a team. I say this all the time. It hasn't stuck here. I think this group's starting to get in. Football's famous for being full of crap. Nobody's more full of crap than football coaches and players. They say one thing and they do another. This is my life of football. Coach speak. A coach can say one thing and then go do the opposite. You know what I'm talking about? Locker rooms are full of false bravado, and I'm going to say one thing. Oh, then I'm actually going to get challenged to do that. Can't do it. That's what I loved about the NFL, and what you loved about the NFL is you got called out. If I say I'm going to do something and your job's, I better go do it. Well, we got everybody that's a superhero and a tough guy and on this thing, but yet you ask him to do it in a team meeting or out on there, and no, I can't do it now. And I think that's what this did. This forced your talk to be your action. We are truly going to come together. I think that's why those teams at Lipscomb were so dominant, was because of that. I mean, that was true. These kids are going to be friends for life. I mean, you got a group of, 80 kids that last year that they've all gone their separate ways, and they are all still like this. And that's harder to create in modern day football in college. So you're always looking for situations that can recreate what I was able to do at Lipscomb. I think the best way to do it is, I think, doing hard things. If you see behind me, like my two core values in life, do hard things, and at the edge of uncomfortable is where you'll find greatness. Like, you got to force them into hard, uncomfortable life situations that they wouldn't choose for themselves. Then they need to be brought along with other people to do it with them. That becomes tribal. Like, we're going to do this hard thing together. And then Michael Gervais taught me this: true, authentic confidence in the group comes when you're doing hard things together and you're speaking well to yourself. Your self-talk's right and your corporate audio is right. So it's like, I got this. I can overcome. I have the courage. I was built for this. That's my self-talk. Now I have my building talk. You got this. I got your back. We can do this together. Oh, they don't know what's coming. We got this, whatever it is. That's authentic tribal confidence, not this false bravado that everybody has on social media. I think that's what you're searching for. Now, obviously, I have not done it here yet. We have not played with that. But to me, that's culture. Culture is organic. It's fluid. You have a culture now, but you're going to grow into another culture. And what you grow into has everything to do with what you do. Not with what you say, not with what you want, not what you dream about, what you actually do. What are your habits?
I see better than I hear.
Exactly. I have it on the thing, right? Emerson, right? Your actions speak so loudly, I cannot hear what you're saying. And that's all around this building. And now, again, we haven't done it. We haven't won, but that's what I'm constantly getting everybody in this building to try to understand, as I've lived it now in the NFL and in high school, where you have that perfect blend of enough talent and the perfect soul of a football team. We have not had a UAB, but I'm going to go down. I'll probably die trying to get to bring it here.
Yeah. By the way, Davey's completely stealing that from you. The table thing. He's already got that. It's going to happen probably in the next 2 days.
Dude, I told my girls volleyball, I have 3 daughters that played volleyball, and I talked to a very successful college volleyball coach. She was calling me about some advice, and she respected my daughters. And I said, just do that. Do a form of that. It doesn't have to be that exact way, but these intimate, hard settings where they got to work it out together, and it's magic when you can pull it off.
Unfortunately, though, it doesn't help stop the run. And that's one where you now have a almost entirely new defensive staff and a new defensive line. So how are you enjoying that life where it's like, okay, I've got new staff, and you're trying to do all those things to help you stop people from running the football on you?
So I know what you're saying. I agree with you. But I will say this: you got a good soul as a football team, you'll stop the run. Yep. Now you have to have enough talent. You have to have enough length. You have to have enough size. But you play hard enough. You learn how to destroy blocks. You have 11 people playing with one heartbeat on defense. You can stop the run. We remade it. We completely blew up philosophically what we do up front, how we coach it, and how we recruit it. So Steve Russ, my defensive coordinator, was lucky to work with Sam Mills III, the great Sam Mills' son, in the Carolina Panthers, as well as the Washington Commanders. We're able to get Sam to join us. You're talking about an elite level coach that's coached, first round picks to Pro Bowls, but he's also recruited undrafted free agents to Pro Bowls. There's a lot of synergy between how the defense is coordinated and how the front plays. I think we've been lacking that in the past. There was a disconnect in vision of how the defense was to be played and how it was actually being taught. Not that the last coach, really good guy, really good coach. It just wasn't the right fit. We have a different style of player. It's very specific to who plays the shade and who plays the 3 and what the field end looks like, what the boundary ends looks like. We have a lot of them. We recruited a lot of defensive linemen. It was priority number one. We did that in the winter, knowing that we knew that the free agent offensive line market is way overpriced in the winter, that market changes in the spring. We knew that you could get value on the defensive line in the winter. So we just absolutely went all in on the defensive line in the portal, knowing the market, we could handle the market effect, knowing that if we tried to compete in the tackle offensive line market, we have no chance in the winter. So we felt like we were strategic that way. We handled each position group based on market trends over the first 2 years with free agency. I know you guys call it the portal, but it's not the portal. It's unrestricted free agency. So we felt like we were pretty tactical there, and we're really pleased with some young guys that were on our roster, that were younger guys that we had developed that had been banged up, really hadn't seen the field much. Really pleased with their development. So we feel like we're a lot better, but we don't know. It's fool's gold until we have to line up and stop, a Tulane stubborn run team, a Memphis stubborn run team, a USF who's got tempo and speed and physicality and great backs, a Navy, an Army who just bludgeon you to death and then misdirect you. So we got to prove it, but we feel a lot better about our ability to stop the run this year than we have in the past.
Trent Dilfer joining us. You spent 14 years in the NFL. Like, who's the greatest, leader greatest lead? I'm gonna buy some time for you. Greatest leader / also maybe like just the most talented person you've ever seen. Like, just whether you played with him or not, you're just like, what the freak is that? Like, God made them to play that position, and they were blessed beyond belief. I mean, the leader, I have to imagine Ray Lewis is probably on that list pretty high as well. But what about those two questions?
So I think I played with 12 Hall of Famers on teams. The most talented I ever played with by far is Walter Jones.
Freak a league.
Nothing, there's no words. There's just no words. He blocked Bruce Smith one game and never broke a sweat. True story.
Never went to training camp either, did he? He was never there, was he?
Yeah, had no pit stains after 60 minutes and 70 plays of blocking Bruce Smith. Prime, Reggie White, Derek Thomas, Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed. Those are the guys that stand out and my guy on my team, Warren Sapp, Johnny Randall. Those are the guys that stand out. I know I'm missing a couple that you're like, they're gods of football. Like, they're just so different. You can't put words on it. Like, I don't have the vocabulary to describe how much better they were than everybody else of the best of the best. Reggie White, when he decided to play his hardest, was literally unstoppable. And you can talk to every tackle that's ever played against him and said, there's going to be about 30 to 40 plays a game that he's going to decide to ruin the play, and he was undefeated ruining it.
I don't think people understand when he clubbed 350-pound men, they went flying off their feet. Like, that's not normal.
It's crazy the things he was able to do. Derek Thomas played at a speed that I can't, again, communicate. Prime was interesting. Prime would give you a couple things. Prime was like a con man. He would give you just enough to reel you in to get the big play. Like, Prime could have just said, hey, don't throw it over here. You're not going to catch it. But 1st and 10 on the -32 and you're going to run a slant, he's going to give it to you. But like +41, the same play to get in the field goal distance, no, you have no chance. Like, you're not going to complete the football line unless you have another Hall of Famer that's going to give you a possibility of a chance. Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed had instincts that you can't even describe. They just showed up in places that they weren't supposed to show up. Warren Sapp, who I played with in practice, was unblockable at the 3 technique. Johnny Randall kind of reinvented the 3 technique before Warren, and then Warren kind of took it to another level. But again, just so privileged to play against some of the great defensive players in the Hall of Fame during my 14-year career. Unfortunately, a lot of them had a lot of success against me, but I deeply admire their talent and how they played the game.
So, Coach, David had mentioned a lot of our listeners are actually in the Chicago area, and they probably want to hear what Trent Dilfer has to say about the expectations of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson combo, and what do you think's going to, or what are you looking for to see in terms of growth from him?
I think there might be a little bit of a regression early on. Ben is, I would say Ben and I are very similar in how our expectation for the position is played and how much volume of stuff we expect them to master. Caleb's history in football has been keep it pretty benign and let his athleticism really flourish and be a playmaker. Like he grew up, and I had Caleb at the Elite 11. He was our MVP. I really respect Caleb. I think he's a neat kid, tough guy, but he was at his best when he had that playmaking mentality. I think Ben sees it more like I do. Is this person's not a butcher, he's a surgeon. A butcher and a surgeon both have sharp tools. One has a big, heavy knife. One has a scalpel. One gets you a pastrami sandwich. One saves your life. And I think a pastrami sandwich done right by a butcher is pretty amazing. But I think I'd rather have a scalpel with open heart surgery to save my life. And I think the quarterback position, and Ben does as well, needs to be played like a scalpel. Needs to be played at the highest level of detail. And everything matters the same. And then plays come off of playing like that. You're not a robot, but you do all the little things perfect, and then actually enhances your playmaking. Caleb's going to learn some hard lessons that way. Now, give him training camp, 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season of some hard lessons learned, and they may win during those lessons, but he's not going to play to the standard that Ben wants. Once he understands what that standard is, watch out. I think you're going to see, I think Patrick Mahomes might be one of one, but if you remember Patrick's ascension, he went from super talent playmaker to just has a combination of like all the great quarterbacks. I could see the same things happening with Caleb, where he goes from just playmaker, making something out of nothing, hair on fire, splash plays, but really low floor plays too, to where his floor is raised and he plays at a very high level, even when it's not great. And then the playmaking is even enhanced on top of that.
And that's exactly what you're talking about, Brent. The analogy is exactly what you were talking about. Yeah, just scalpel, a knife.
I did steal that one. A lot of my best stuff I've borrowed from, as Mark Schlereth taught me this at ESPN. I don't know, Dave, if we were at this conversation. Mark always said, hey, the first time you hear something really good, you got to give the guy credit. So like I'd be on TV and I'd watch a Sports Center and I'd hear Schlereth say, oh, Trent said this today. Really good way of saying it. He goes, but the second time, it's yours. You own it. So then I'd be watching Mark like 2 nights later. It's like I always say, it's a butcher and a surgeon. I'm like, wait a second. Just 2 nights ago, I said that. So I will say this. There's a lot of stuff that I borrowed from people, and then I kind of tweaked. I gave them credit the first time, but they didn't get credit after that. That became a Dilferism really quick.
Hey, and nowadays with AI, man, it's hard to tell when anybody's plagiarizing anything. So you ain't got to worry about it. Trent, man, we thank you for your time, and fire breathers only this season, man. Good luck to UAB, and we'll definitely be watching you, man.
I appreciate you. I think the world of you, David. You know that. Think the absolute world of you. Continue to pray for you and your family, and you let me know if I can ever help you.
You the man, dog. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
See you guys.
Thanks, Coach.